Welcome everybody to the webinar introducing the series Chaos to Clear Aligned Action. I'm Kerri Hummingbird, medicine woman, mother, mentor, and messenger. And here we have Akeem Sami.
Hi, everyone. I am Akeem Sami. I'm a massage therapist. I'm a network engineer. I'm also a loving co-facilitator with Kerri, and very excited to do things today to talk about what we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
Alignment,
Yeah.
clearing aligned action.
Yeah, exactly. It's been interesting because you and I have been having a lot of conversations about the collective and how what we're witnessing is a lot of chaos and dismantling of old structures and just like a whirlwind of activity and a lot of conflict rising up. And, in our relationship, when we witness all of this and in our community that we facilitate in our medicine community, we always strive to be present with that chaos and the conflict as it arises, and then transmute and alchemize that energy back into harmony and love. And so, in a small context, it's, we know what to do. But what about when it's like the whole planet and our whole
Right.
society, right?
Yes.
And so, some of us maybe felt like we've been thrown into chaos and we might be feeling anxiety and fear, right? Because we have that instinctual center in the root chakra that gets triggered. It gets triggered into ancestral fear, survival, into, it's kind of like I remember Alberto Vialdo in the Four Winds when I took that training. He said, when the when you're being chased across the savannah by a lion, then you have legitimate fear. But we can get that same feeling even though it's just an idea or it's just some words that are being spoken. It's not actually being hunted, but you feel like you are. And it's because all of this accumulated anxiety and fear ancestrally and personally in that instinctive center. And so a lot of that's being purged right now, but it can throw us out of whack. Is even if we have really great practices, right? Even if we have all the practices that work for us on an individual level, when it's all of this is kicked up in the society, it can be challenging, right?
Yeah, it's a new level of inner discernment that's required. And, a theme that I've noticed and observed is a tendency to go outside for answers, for solutions. And this is bringing us to a place where you've got to have your own internal alignment, your own inner strength, your own inner fortitude that you bring forth to the world. So it's almost like not bringing it to a place of world show me first, but I did first. I come with the alignment. I come with the love. I come with the higher intentions in the way of being.
Yeah, it's definitely calling all of us up, and we have felt it in our relationship too. It's been calling us all up to practice greater mastery in how we bring ourselves into presence, back into alignment with ourselves, with our heart coherence, with our connection, our rooted groundedness with Mother Earth, and with our environment. And then from a place of heart coherence, we know from heart math and all the experiments that heartmath.org has run, that when we are in heart coherence and we work together to create these pockets of heart coherence, it actually creates more coherence in everything around us. It brings everything into a natural order, and it helps get us out of that chaotic mode. But if we're reacting, because our instinctive center is all triggered, right? And we have this maybe ancestral fear going on inside of our bodies. We maybe have some anxiety. Maybe there was a job loss, or maybe we're worried about protecting our family, or maybe we're seeing things that cause us to go into judgment or, like, I can't believe this is happening in this day and age. And we could be in shock and we could be concerned about our own safety. And also, we could be concerned about others' safety. And when we're seeing in that frame of reference everything in the world, we can actually, the lens through which we're perceiving it is a lens of fear and anxiety, right? When we're viewing it from that instinctive center all churned up. So,
Yes.
I know people have expressed to me, I don't want to just sit idly by while all of this is happening. And I'm not sure what I can do. I don't know what my role is. I'm not sure what how I can help, because it just seems like every day there's like a new barrage of things that are chaotic and destructive. And, what do we do with all of that? It just feels like kind of an avalanche. And we want to protect ourselves. We want to protect our families. We want to help others. We want to also stay in our frequency. We want to be in service from a place of love. And we don't want to feel like we're just getting sucked into some more fighting and division, right? We want to move beyond that energy. And those of us that are empathic, we really feel it. We really feel that stirred up collective energy, and it can be unsettling. So I know that because we've talked about this, I know you have some ideas about what this, archetypally, what's this energy about? Did you want to share some of that, Akeem, with us?
Yeah, yeah. Well, what you're describing reminds me of a story. The story of, and for anyone that's heard, there's two different, like there's a Grecian version and there's the ancient Egyptian version or the ancient Kemetic version. The story of Asar and Arset. With this story, with Asar and Arset, what it represents is this archetype that began as in Asar was likened. Let me explain the characters. So Asar was likened to an earlier ancient Jesus type, very loving, very fervent, spreading goodness throughout the world and all the places that he would go. And he had his sacred partner, his wife. Greeks call it Isis. Her name in Chemetics is Aset. And Aset, she had this very fervent, like love and dedication, not just to their relationship, but to an earth-like balance. So Asar represents one aspect, heaven, and Aset represents earth. And there's this balance that they both held together, heaven and earth oneness in a balance. So with Asar and Aset, they had, in their own ways, gone throughout the world to spread love and to spread oneness and to spread a way of being in unity with all that is. And Asar also came with a brother, and his brother was like a polar opposite. Some would call him the devil. In Comedics, his name was Set, S-E-T, Set. And what Set represented was this antithesis. He wanted division. He wanted a disunified act, and he also wanted domination over another. He thrived on violence. He thrived on conflict, whereas his brother Asar wanted to share and bring love. So they always had this strange dichotomy of interactions together, and they went about their separate ways, of course, because there's only so long that can operate before they end up interacting and then conflict again and they separate and then conflict and they come back in before the conflict and then after again. So Set figured out this particular way because he was always coming up with new strategies of how to create conflict. Well, he actually got Asar to lay in a casket. Now, he thought Asar was just gullible because he's so loving. Asar knew that that's what his brother's intention was, and he was willing to go with the experiment to see what it could help humanity do, him making this sacrifice of himself. So he laid in his this box, which became a coffin. Set sliced this coffin into 7 pieces. Now, in ancient Egypt or ancient Kemet, there is lots of allegory. And in allegory, the numbers, the type of animals that's involved, the setting, they all represent different aspects of not only our thought process and humanity, but exaltation. So, cutting into 7 pieces represents the 7 continents of the world, cut into 7 pieces, and then hid them throughout the world, right? So that all the different continents, why they're not connected, no, they're not Pangea. So uh, he was lost, and Set began attempting his rule. So his wife, Asar's wife, Set, was in great pain, but she was in this place of, I've got to find him. I've got to connect with my sacred self, with his sacred self again, with his pieces to create some sort of solution to what Set is bringing in his rule to create our son. And once again, this is allegory. It's not like third dimension logic, but the allegory is the lesson. So Asar, his pieces were all separated, and Aset she turned herself into a falcon, turned herself into a bird. Also, the falcon is Eastern or throughout Africa's essence to represent the eagle or the condor if you're in South America. It represents this flying above, and this represents an exaltation, a looking down upon everything, and a beingness. Okay, so she used her essence to search for all of his parts throughout the world, and she put them all together. And she got just about everything together, but she needed an essence of Mother Earth from Mother Earth's core to add to him to create this fullness so she could create child and connect her sacred essence with his sacred essence. And once again, this is allegory. It's not third dimension logic, but it's representing a creation and bringing pieces together for oneness. And their son was created, Heru. Well, with Heru, he had this divine ability to have an aspect of spirituality, but he also had this aspect of beingness with earth as well as heaven. So you can see this beautiful balance of both of his parents he was. So he decided to take the helm and fight his uncle, Set. Little did he know at the time that Set thrived on violence. So if you up the violence to the next level, Set would up it to another level to go above. And then you'd have to have this ongoing, triage of continuously outdoing the other. And Heru, in the process of this battle, lost his eyes. Now, allegory once again. Losing the eyes means losing your sight. And if you don't lose your sight, if you lose your sight, then you lose your ability to see what's happening, see what's going on. So chaos to a clear aligned action, what Kerri was speaking to was a loss of sight. And how do we resource ourselves so that we can see again? So in the very end of this battle, this is a very long battle. They went back and forth. And Heru was blind. How could he fight thereafter? He became deeper in his heart, deeper in his inner resource, deeper in who he actually is, which is essence. He connected with his essence and was able to pull from the essence a power unseen by the world. And he was able to have supernatural capabilities, supernatural powers. And in essence, he didn't fight his brother, his uncle Set anymore. He actually approached him with love. And as he approached him with love, with arms wide open, like with love, Set didn't know what to do with that. It reminded him too much of his brother. And he didn't know what to do with love. All he knew was domination, hatred, upping the ante, keep going, keep going, keep going. And he could go on perpetually with that, but he could not go an inch with love, with the fullness of the love. So what happened thereafter? Thereafter was this beautiful like win that happened with Heru. He won, but he didn't lord it over his uncle. He didn't lord it over. He held this, and that's the story. The whole story is you don't hold yourself over another, even when the person is supposedly too dangerous to not be lorded over. So this is bringing in the conversation again of what do we do when we're at the moral high ground of things? Do we jump down in the mud with those that would not want to be in the higher way of being, higher way of living? So this is asking that question of yourself. And how do you resource outside of yourself when you don't have the ability to see on the inside of yourself? So this is what we're talking about. This whole chaos to clear aligned action is bringing you to this place of how do you resource yourself in such a way that you can see through all obstacles?
Yeah, I love that, Akeem. It's beautiful. Such a beautiful example and story to explain what we're seeing in this time, and how do we move forward if we can't see clearly? We can't. That's why we get frozen, we get locked in place, we have freeze, fight, flight, fawn, because we're caught in this whirlwind, this storm, this condition that feels unsafe. It feels like dangerous, right? This conflict feels dangerous. There's fear involved. There could be anger and outrage as well. There could be a lot of emotions that are happening. And so when we have that loss of control, that destabilization, we forget that chaos itself as an energy is actually, it is disruptive. And the whole arc, if you could zoom out and you could see with those eyes, you would see that this chaos piece is a temporary catalyst for things to unravel that are no longer serving and for new energies to be infused. And if you looked at it would actually have a sacred geometry at a higher level. If we could see the whole arc of what's happening, we would see that this has purpose. But in the moment, in the middle of the muck, it's really hard to see that. So that's why we wanted to create this class, because we have shamanic skills. We have the tools to move through this if we leverage them, if we call on them, if we ask for help. And so we're bringing in a piece of the Aini Karpai from the Munai Key, which is a series of initiations from the Andes that have passed through Alberto Vialdo, one of my teachers, has passed through him to the world, to us. And we're going to be sharing 4 of those seeds of the Aini Karpai in this series and working with those seeds to support us energetically in our bodies to work this magic on the inside so that we can bring order to chaos and we can get those eyes back so we can see what's going on. And so in the first week, we're addressing the outer world, right? What causes overwhelm? What is it that's causing overwhelm? What are we seeing out there that's making us want to, react or go into fight, flight, freeze, or fawn? What is it that we're seeing that's triggering, activating that instinctive center in the root chakra to bring up a lot of fear, bring up a lot of rage or anger, or other things in our bodies that makes it so that we lose our eyes? And so we're going to be working with the seed in the first week of Sachamama, which is the great serpent. And she is connecting us back into our bodies and back into Mother Earth and helping us to be, to open up access, right? Clear out that root chakra, clear out the fear in the instinctive center, help us to have access to the the higher intelligence, opening up the Kundalini energy, helping us to remember who we are, that we are divine beings of light, having a temporary human experience. And when we flip the context like that, that changes a lot, doesn't it, Akeem? I mean, just having that change of context, because now we're not just all in the third dimensional muck, because if we're only there, it's kind of scary. If all we are
Yeah.
is that, right?
Yeah. Well, and you're also highlighting what happens when we're overwhelmed by thoughts, right? When we're overwhelmed by the feelings without being in touch with our bodies. I guess I'm speaking from a massage therapist perspective. I work with clients all the time that are trying to get back in touch with their bodies. They're trying to get back in touch with feeling the nuances, the sensations, and what those things are telling them about where they go next, even in their lives, even if it's at the end of this day or the next day.
Yeah, and it can be, these outer experiences, things that are happening, we're also being informed about them through different people's perceptual lenses, right? And so that's just a whole lot more that we're being given in terms of context that may not be 100% true context, right? So, but it's hard to tell when there's such a whirlwind of it and it's such a dust storm. Like if you were trying to see through a dust storm, they would be stinging your eyes. You literally could not get a clear read on what's going on when there's that much chaos. And so that's why we want to get you back in your body so that you're connected to something grounded and stable. And then we're going to do some journaling about those external conditions that cause overwhelm. Like, what are the stories that are causing you to have that overwhelm feeling? So we want to do that in week one and work with Sachamama. And it's a really beautiful up level. I know all of our students that work with her, like, wow, I did not know how powerful this was, to work
I
with
know,
just this
loving.
energetic seed of
Yeah,
Sachamama.
yeah.
Yeah.
Powerful and loving, and this is going back to the question about Aset, being a connection with Earth, right? And this is this love energy, and versus Set's way of, he called power domination. So this is also going back to our perception of what is and what makes things go, what makes things run. What are things made of? This is going to those deeper places within ourselves as well as in our environments.
And when we're disconnected from our bodies and we're disconnected from the planet, we feel separate and alone. And in that state of being, the set of the world has a lot of power because it can convince you that it can have power over you because you're tapped into just yourself. And that does feel small and powerless. That's where that feeling comes through. But when we ground back with Sachamama, we remember, wait a second, I'm connected to all that is. I'm the furthest thing from powerless. And then we can start to see what's happening in the outer world with more clarity. And so that's week one. And it's a powerful week. We're really excited about bringing people through this process. And it builds on each other, right? So the next week, we're going to look at the inner world. What causes the overwhelm from the inner perspective? And for this week, we'll be working with the seed of Jaguar in the second chakra. And so Jaguar is just a powerful ally for moving through darkness, right? Can't see, moving through darkness. Maybe the mind can't understand what's going on, but Jaguar has other senses. Jaguar has sensory sensing, has the ability to feel things, has the ability to parse information at a different level, and has the ability to work with the emotions to see, like, what are they telling us? What is this, like, consciousness coming through emotion that's here to share with me something for my own journey? So moving it inside, like, we know what's happening on the outside, it's creating a reaction inside. So why is it creating a reaction inside? What's the core of that? What's the purpose of it? And we always operate with the understanding that life is unfolding as us, by us, for us, and through us. Therefore, it's for us somehow. And so Jaguar helps us figure out the how. Like, why is this for me? How can I transmute this energy? Perhaps something in the outer world is triggering a feeling in the body that's been stuck in your soul field or your ancestral field for generations and generations or lifetimes. And
Yeah,
it's time to release that energy now.
yeah,
And so this thing is coming up so that that chunk of emotion or trapped energy can come to the surface and be transmuted, alchemized with the light of your consciousness. And so we can be free of that pattern and we don't have to experience that again. So a lot of what's coming up is an opportunity for us to go within and parse and sort that information. And of course, we're going to be talking about the four agreements, how those can help us move through this, right? And also the
Mhm.
fifth agreement of discernment. And you had mentioned discernment, so it's like, how do we work with Jaguar to discern what's arising inside and why?
Yeah. And this is also inspiring me to remember correlations. I'm a connector at nature, right? So, well, we are both correlators by nature, it seems. But I'm also correlating the jaguar's way of operating with the lion. Now, there's a masculine lion and there's a feminine lion. The feminine lion is the hunter. The feminine lion is the one that has access to all these same senses like the jaguar. They both operate in the ways that they hunt. They go for their intentions, and they're focused. They're known for their focus, and they're known for their strength, and they're known for their sensory, their ability to listen to what is, and then operate from there, not in a place of reaction, but a place of responding rather than reacting.
Yeah, and when Jaguar teaches us power, true power. True power is resting back inside of ourselves with that connectedness and that sensory information and feeling the whole jungle. The Jaguar senses and feels everything, and it also is connected with right timing, right? It's connected with the entire environment, including its prey. So when it hunts, it just pounces and it immediately gets its prey.
Mhm.
And so there's that beautiful gift that Jaguar gives us of confidence, of knowing, of wisdom, of connectedness that helps us, move forward on our path. And
Yeah.
it's a great ally too for tracking those shadows and those wounds and those things from our past that need some transmutation and releasing of energies. Jaguar can help us do that. It's such a powerful ally on the inside.
Hmm.
So
Yes.
I love,
Yes.
Jaguar is one of my favorites. I try not to have favorites, but oh my goodness. It's true.
Well, yeah, in my family of origin, we were all about lions, so I'm always finding correlations between things throughout the world. It's always, I tend to be in the same space of there isn't one thing in just one part of the world. These are showing as different observations, like this particular animal I heard about the other day was like a salamander, but it shapes itself and positions itself like a snake. Why does it do that? And it's nowhere near where there are supposedly snakes in the area or that part of the world. So how did it know how to act like a snake? There's certain similarities in phenomena that come together that are similar ways to respond to the world, you know?
Beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And we
exactly.
also
These
talk,
are archetypal energies.
yeah, yeah.
So now we go to week three. We're going to be talking about, okay, now that we've looked in the outer world, we've kind of determined like what is it that's super stirred up on the outer world that's affecting us. We go into the inner world, we look at that and we ask, why is it affecting us? And we come through with Jaguar and do that medicine. And then the week three is aligning to self, so the most powerful way we can be in the world is when we're aligned to our true frequency, our individual frequency. This is what's so interesting, and I know I've talked to you about this before, Akeem, but like when I was in the Four Winds and Bruce Lipton came to talk, and he shared with us his story of being a microbiologist and how when he was a microbiologist, he was looking at the structure of cells. And his moment of epiphany about his divinity happened in that science when he realized that if you took a cell from one person and tried to put it into another person, that second person's body would reject that cell. Because why? And so as he started looking to figure out why, he realized it was the membrane of the cell. And so what's unique about the membrane? He started asking. And then he realized, wait a second, the membrane is like a TV antenna. It's a receptor. It receives a signal. And so the signal that I am receiving in my cells is not the same signal that you're receiving in your cells. There we have unique signals. And so that when we're talking about, because this is all frequency, we're talking about helping each person to align to their own true frequency. And the more we're aligned to our true frequency, the less dissonance there is, the less clutter, the less, the less confusion, the less doubt, the less shadows, because you're more aligned with your own frequency. And so this is all about learning how to tap into your frequency to guide you right along the steps that you would take, like that are right for you, because you can't listen to everybody else. And I'll pull in this whole thing I've been really enamored with lately is like the Holy Grail, and how the Arthurian knights, they were told that they could never follow anybody else's footsteps to the Holy Grail or they would never find it. The only way
Mm.
you could find the Holy Grail is if you follow your own path to it. Well, I'm just going to pull that in with this frequency stuff and go, well, yeah, like, of course, because you need to follow your own path, your own frequency to your own Holy Grail. There is no other one for you. You can't follow somebody else. You've got to follow yourself. So this is where we're going to get into that human design stuff you were talking about. We were talking about in terms of like different, there are different human designs, right? There's different ways of finding the truth. There's the solar plexus, the splenic, the sacral authority, all of these different ways, right? To find your
Mhm.
truth.
Yeah, and also its connection with gene keys as well, which is also connected to the Chinese Book of Changes. It's approximately 5,000 years old. So there's some, and by the way, the 5,000 year cycle information has been studies about phenomena on Earth, observations of how mountains respond to the ground underneath it and how water can erode the mountain. These are all natural observations that became the I Ching.
Yeah, and so there's some really deep wisdom in human design and the gene keys that we always work with in inner medicine training because it's helpful because it gives you the map. It's like if you forgot, because this is a planet of forgetting, if you forgot what you were here to work on, it's already showing up in your life, but it's easier to see it when you have a map. And so the gene keys gives you that map. He's like, oh, I'm working through judgment and opinion.
Yeah.
Okay, no wonder I'm responding so much to what's going on out there.
Well, there's also this funny thing going back to human design that we were talking about a little earlier. Uh, Human design also has this funny thing that it does in the studies is it tells you what percentage of the population is a certain authority, as in its way of processing initially, its initial reaction to what's happening in the world. And how are they determining these things? Well, come to find out, like natal astrology, where it actually pulls the date, time, and the minute of your birth, as well as the location of your birth, that those all have coordinates. And those coordinates, when you calculate it with where the rest of the planets are in the galaxy facing it, is something, and this is kind of geeky, a neutrino stream comes into the space at that exact spot at that exact same moment. And that's how they're able to calculate certain things, like, for instance, what's said to be the solar plexus authority is, and also the emotional type of authority, as in it feels emotions and it takes time to clear its emotional field to fully process what just came up. That's said to be, based on that same calculation of the neutrino stream, 47% of the population. So that's almost half of the world can needs to take time before responding to something, not go straight into reaction because there's a time waste and all of a sudden have to push things away, So I mean that inspires people to just act out of things without being in their heart, without being in their body, without accessing their solar plexus. And
Right.
same,
Yeah, exactly. And not everyone's made the same. I mean, this is the biggest gift of human design and gene keys, I think, for the planet at this time. And
yeah,
astrology is like it's just showing us we're all made different. So we don't all operate the same way. And so
yeah,
we have to figure out how we operate, how what is our design and then align to that, because some people are splenic. They use an intuition. They go, uh-huh, uh-uh. And that's how they figure out, well, gosh, that'd be nice. I'm an emotional processor, so I've got to wait till all the emotion gets integrated. and I get through the wave and I'm on the other side and I'm back in peace. And then I have the information I need. Now, granted, it's nice, deep, rich context, but it does take a long time. And sometimes you're not sure you're through the whole wave yet. So that's kind of irritating because you want a quicker answer because we see people in the world, sacral authority, they know instantly, yes or no. They just know. They know instantly. My mom's like that. She just knows. And so sometimes if I'm in the middle of an emotional wave, I'll just go, Mom, is this true or not? Just because, like she has a yes and no. It's like so much easier than going through the whole emotional wave. But yet there's such beautiful, rich content inside the emotional wave too. So that contributes to this human experiment that we're having. And it is an important voice, and it's been, I don't know, kind of shamed or, like stop having those emotions. You're too much, stop bringing all that up kind of stuff. And I know that anybody listening to this probably has heard that too. And so we want to also get really aligned and accepting of our design, whatever our design is.
Yes. And I also really love that in this third class, we're also bringing up the agreements. If anyone's read the book by Don Miguel Ruiz Sr. and The Fifth Agreement by Don Miguel Ruiz Jr., The Fifth Agreement. So we actually bring all five agreements in the conversation about discernment through the agreements program. If you studied Toltec lineage, as Kerri actually, she's also a part of Toltec studies as well through Heather Ashamara. And did you want to speak to the agreements and why it begins to show up in this third class, Kerri?
Well, I mean, I think that when we align to our self, our soul chakra, which is our will center, and that's our capital S self is in that, as well as our small self. And so we want to get those two working together. And so we're going to have actually the seed of hummingbird is going to come in there to open up that soul, that big self, that capital S self, that connection to that divine child, that essence, that, that awe, wonder, grace, delight, beauty, and all of that. That opens that up. And then the fifth agreement, discernment, helps us to discern what's actually true. Because Don Miguel says in that book, The Fifth Agreement, you can only believe 50% of what somebody else says and only 10% of what you think. Now, I think that's because we're aware of all of our thoughts and we only probably speak like 10% of them or something, or 20% of them.
Well,
But
and it's also bringing up the conversation about we speak the words based on the symbols that we learned as children, but it may not be in alignment with the actual truth in our heart.
right, because we're here I mean, we are on the planet at this time to rewire the consciousness, right? Like we are diverting the stream from the old, same old, repeat, repeat, repeat into a new earth. And so, in order to do that, what you were talking about, Heru needs that soul peace, needs that self, that capital S self, that heart, that connection with Mother Earth, all of it needs that soul, that heart in order to open up the truth. Because the conditioning is what we're breaking free from in order to live sovereign, right? It's the conditioning. And the conditioning is all around us. And actually, there's so much truth and light coming in on the planet right now. That's part of the chaos, is that we're seeing all the conditioning is being revealed. Like the ways that we were thinking about things that's actually not based in truth and love is like, oh, that's all false. Okay, that was a foundation of my being before, and now it's false. And it's
See now,
like sandcastles going away in the ocean. It's
yeah.
like, oh my gosh, like where's my ground?
Right. And see that the where's the ground and having your grounding based on what you see. So I've read scientific experiments and it says that out of all of our five senses, six officially, okay, so out of our five senses, the eyes provide approximately 83% of what we see. But imagine how blind people operate. Other studies I've studied imply that people who are born blind use their other four senses a lot more. than 17%.
And there's so
Because,
much more information in those other senses.
yeah,
Like we were
yeah.
talking about, like the emotions have massive information inside of them. So much data, but you have to feel them and let them integrate in the body in order for that wisdom to be unpacked, right?
Mhm,
And
mhm.
so the mind is associated with the sight. And so that's why we want to turn it off because you want to just come in, close your eyes and come inside and use your other senses to process information, that you're seeing, right? So you saw stuff and then you close your eyes and go inside and then open up this access to Hummingbird and to your soul self to help you parse this information back into truth and love, because so much of our existence has not been based in truth and love. Let's just be honest. And we're seeing it, right? Fall away, all the
Yeah.
things.
And as we're in our heart connection, that leads us right to class 4, which
Yeah,
is right action and being able to see the bigger picture.
that's right. So we want to see the bigger picture. And so I love that you brought in hawk. Hawk is like eagle and condor. And
Falcon,
so,
yeah.
yeah, we in the heart chakra, through the Munai key, Aini Karpai, we receive the seed of eagle, and then I add in condor because I've integrated condor. And so we get the seed of eagle and condor in the heart chakra to open that heart up. And there's actually a sun in your heart. There's a sun that if you open the sun in your heart, you will receive so much love and grace in your life. Like it's just the deeper I open that sun in my heart, the brighter I let it shine, the more love comes out and radiates on my whole being. And it creates that heart coherence we've been talking about. It creates that coherent field where truth and love create the order out of the chaos of the dismantling of fear. And so
Yeah.
it's like such a beautiful gift because it's spirit, at the highest sense, it's spirit, it's great spirit, and it's coming through our hearts. And yeah, and it puts things in right order. And it might even feel like upside down world is turning right side up.
Mm.
And when you have right side up world, things look really differently. They act really differently. You're guided really differently. It just, everything unfolds in a completely different way. And that creates the magic and the mystery of our programs. Because people often say, as soon as I entered your program, like synchronicity started happening and wild coincidences that I could never explain, and I feel the presence of being supported and loved, and I can feel it in my body and I know it's true, and everything has shifted. Yeah, because we're bringing in spirit, because we're opening up that sun in our hearts, and we're
Yeah.
bringing in love, and love creates coherence. And when there's coherence, the mystery and the magic can open back up again, and then life is really beautiful. And then all those dreams you had, they do come true because anything is possible in spirit.
Yes. And
Yeah.
your resourcefulness and adaptation abilities they skyrocket. If anyone's seen a gyro in operation, it's like it's centered and the movement is happening all around it and it's shifting back and forth, but that beat in the middle stays solid, stays steady, stays consistent.
And that's
So
our
you,
new ground. That's our new ground is love. Like that's the new ground because then everything else can change around us, but
yeah,
we're centered in love and we're grounded in love. And so we're good because we can let everything change. We don't need to try to hold it in place.
right, right. And then we begin to also see where our sovereignty comes into the picture. And it connects with that bigger picture as well. So you're seeing your relationship to the world through time forwards and back and across your current context. This informs right action because we're in a relationship with others as well as being in touch with ourselves. And we know that every act that they do and that we do create ripples. But as you have that neutrino, or should I say the gyro, in the middle, that lead that doesn't change, that doesn't deviate, you're always in touch, even though things around you can be topsy and turvy.
Yeah, and then you can allow things to happen. That's that allow, accept, embrace. It's so much easier to allow and accept and embrace things when you're grounded and rooted in love. Like that is just, it's like the trust is there, the knowing is there. We can accept that everything is happening as us, by us, for us, and through us for our highest good when we get into this part of the transition. And so yeah, that seed of eagle and condor is super powerful. On that particular class, we'll also take a journey with eagle and condor to help you see like three potential visions that actions you could take, and then potential outcomes and responses to those actions. We'll work with Eagle Condor to help you get that vision, because the vision is important. And this is a new eyes. It's a new kind of vision. It's not the old vision connected to your mind. It's a new vision connected to your inner sight. And then the last week we just bring it all together. So we'll just knit all the little pieces together in a process, and that you can just repeat over and over and over again in your life to work through any perceived chaos and restore the order to it. And so yeah, we're really excited to have you join us. Um,
Yes.
if you're listening to this on the podcast, or wherever you are, you can go to kerrihummingbird.com/events. It's on the events page of kerrihummingbird.com, and that will be in the show notes. And you can register simply by making your contribution, your reciprocity. There's a link to make it via PayPal. And if you want to do it some other way, you can just reach out to us, and we're open to all the ways. But we're really excited to do this. We're super excited about bringing our field of coherence to more people, opening up that field of love and mystery on the planet for more and more people, and restoring this new order, this new love, this new grace on the planet, and help it to reconcile whatever we're perceiving in the outer world back into light and love and truth. Anything else you want to say, Hun, before we close?
Well, I actually would love to close with the feeling and the prayer that each and every one of you that are witnessing this message, this transmission that we're sending you, if you hear this transmission, to be able to find your heart and be able to find your love in whichever ways that you need, we are inviting you to our particular place. We would love to have you. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you for your spirit and your opportunity to exalt, and holding the space for you and everyone that you interact with to receive this download and improvement of themselves and their beingness together.
Together, and together we rise. Together
Together
we
we
rise.
rise.
Well, this has been amazing, Hun, to be here together and to share this message. And we love you. We love you. We love you, everyone. And we'll see you in all the ways we see you. Bye for now, everyone.
Bye.